Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the reopening riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. I'm coming to you live from Ottawa to talk about the return of Parliament. That is, if it ever happens before an election is called. What we have now is not Parliament. It's a special committee on COVID-19 where all the questions and debate can only be about COVID-19. No other business issues can be discussed. As of this broadcast, we still do not know in what shape or form Parliament will come back in. The Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs was asked to study ways in which MPs could do their jobs while the House stands adjourned due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They completed the report on Friday, and it should trouble you. So far, the Liberals have been propped up by the separatists, the Bloc Québécois, to limit democracy. Let's look at what the Liberals and separatists are trying to do to Parliament. Let's look at what the Conservatives are proposing. And let's look at why it is so critical to restore democracy. The Liberals do not want Parliament restored. They love trotting out Trudeau every day to announce one more spending program, just like an election campaign. He's used the last 2 months spending record sums with no real accountability. Reporters can call into his daily outings, but his staff picks which media outlets get questions and which do not. That's how the CBC ends up with 23% of all the questions asked. It's why the left-wing Toronto Star gets twice the questions that the National Post receives. Real accountability can only happen in the House of Commons, where Justin does not get to choose who asks him questions. While the Liberals are obviously enjoying this break from accountability brought on by a pandemic, they have been pushing for a virtual Parliament for some time. The Trudeau Liberals proposed electronic voting back in 2017. In a 2019 letter to the Liberal House Leader, Trudeau instructed him to introduce new technology and other institutional changes to the House of Commons. When Trudeau tried to seize the power to tax and spend while Parliament is suspended, he showed us his true colors. It's why they want a virtual democracy and not just a digital democracy. Virtual is not real. A virtual democracy would be a simulation of democracy. It's the technocratic vision of democracy by algorithm. It's a deepfake democracy. Virtual candidates running in virtual elections. It's a call to arms to take the blue pill. The Liberals want us to live in a virtual world they feel that they can control. Well, we're not going to stand for it. Conservatives are proposing what you could call a hybrid approach. It's an approach which is already working in the United Kingdom. Some MPs are in the House of Commons, safely seated, 6 feet apart. Some MPs are appearing digitally, and it's working there. It's time for our Parliament to get back to work, not just committees. Incredibly, Even the Liberal bloc report I mentioned earlier makes a strong case for the hybrid approach, right before it ignores the evidence and recommends going completely virtual. It is the Liberals' trademark, ignore the evidence-based approach to policy that they're making. One witness whose testimony the Liberals put into the report said the hybrid approach would be 100% constitutional, but a virtual parliament might not be. Another witness said because a virtual parliament may be unconstitutional, any laws it passed could be struck down by the courts. Is that why they criminalize law-abiding citizens through a decree? The Liberal Bloc Alliance heard that evidence. They included it in their report. Then they recommended a virtual parliament anyways. My friend and colleague, MP Scott Reid, has a series of tweets showing how the House can accommodate up to 88 MPs safely. Since the start of this crisis, Conservatives have been offering constructive solutions to the many flaws in the Liberal pandemic responses. That's the job of an official opposition, especially an official opposition who won the most votes. A witness appearing before the committee said, and I quote, "Ultimately, the underlying primary constitutional principle here is the principle of responsible government. It's about ministerial responsibility first and foremost during a crisis and an emergency, especially during a time of crisis. That's when Parliament has the supreme duty to hold the executive to account. Canadians need continuous parliamentary audit of the executive and the bureaucracy's judgment." End quote. Without Parliament, we don't have democracy. What has been shown so far is not Parliament. During World War I, the House of Commons continued its usual sittings. When Parliament burned down, they moved up the street and continued sitting. The Great Depression, World War II, the Cuban Missile Crisis, terrorist attacks, the financial crisis, Parliament just kept going. As provinces reopen, they will need continued federal support for testing and tracing if we're going to have any chance of keeping the virus contained. For 2 months, Trudeau has been slow to react. The shutdowns were supposed to give us time to get ahead. Where is the federal plan? There is none. Why? Because instead of being in the House of Commons, facing daily demands for a plan to reopen, Trudeau's been dishing out his daily campaign pledge. He's just been taking softball questions from the CBC. Parliament must be restored. Many Liberals may not understand this, but your rights and liberties do not come from Trudeau Sr.'s charter. Our liberties are ancient and unalienable. For the last 800 years, those liberties have been safeguarded by parliaments. When those rare events come along, like a once-in-a-century pandemic, and government orders citizens' liberties to be restricted, a free citizen's tolerance for this infringement can only be maintained by their trust in Parliament and the confidence it has in the government issuing those orders. Every day Parliament is shut down is another day this second place party loses legitimacy in the eyes of Canadians. Democracy must be saved, and I need your help to do it. Go to cherylgallant.com/saveparliament. Tell your member of parliament you want to see parliament return and democracy restored. Tell your friends and family. Tweet at them. Go to Facebook, their Facebook pages. Hashtag it. Save Parliament. You can be a free citizen in a real democracy or a virtual citizen in a virtual democracy. You cannot be both. So speak up while you still can. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant, wishing you a good night.